Hello and welcome to Always in Escrow with Serena Appel and Colby Birching. Hello, Colby.
Hey, Serena, how are you?
I am fantastic, and we are off to a delicious start to the day because we are speaking with Louis Goldstein. He is the CEO of Maine Crisp's company. His experience speaks volume, having worked at well-known brands such as Boston Beer Company, Snapple, Kiss My Face, Organic Valley, and Insa Cannabis. Louis, welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Serena, I'm really excited because Louis sent you and I both packages. So I was very excited this week. We got some packages of crisp in our households, and my household went through the crisp. They loved it, Louis.
That's great. The crisps are always more exciting than me. So any product I've ever worked for is always much more exciting than me, which is a good thing.
So let's tell the audience the story behind Maine Crisp. How was it founded by Karen Getz in 2014? Let's hear it.
So Karen is a farmstead or was a farmstead award-winning cheesemaker who has a gluten intolerance. And so they had a farm in Vermont, and she could never find a gluten-free cracker that she felt stood up to her cheese. And she was on a trip with her husband who worked at Organic Valley, and that's where I made the connection with them. They were recruiting farmers in way northern Maine, near the Canadian border. And on that trip, she saw these fields of buckwheat. She didn't know what it was at that point, but she saw these sprawling, beautiful, blooming fields of this crop. And she later learned it was buckwheat. And she learned that buckwheat was a seed that is naturally grain and gluten-free. And then she started to experiment with this grain and gluten-free ancient super seed that has a unbelievable history around the world and has never really been adopted by U.S. consumers because it's never been put in delicious products here. And so that began her journey of creating these crisps, first in her kitchen in Waterville, Maine, the home of Colby College, then in a commercial kitchen, then in a small 1,500 square foot facility, and then finally last fall we moved into this 17,500 square foot facility that will allow us to grow 20 times our size. And it's, ups and downs along the way, but that's the journey began with her search for a cracker that was gluten-free that could stand up to the wonderful cheeses she was making.
Well, they are quite delicious and flavorful. There are many varieties, and we'd love to hear what sets Maine Crisp apart from other specialty cracker brands on the market.
We are the only facility in the United States that manufactures gluten, that is a certified gluten-free manufacturer of crisp. There's no one else in the United States. So what sets us apart is really the taste and quality of the crisp, the uniqueness of the crisp, because it's not easy to make. There have been times in the history where we've tried to look for a co-packer as opposed to building this new facility and making that investment. And we tried doing it in Colorado, and the altitude got in the way of being able to produce it in Colorado. So it's a very difficult product to produce, and we've been able to do it here. Karen's daughter, Claire, runs our operations. So it's really a family affair. And we use Maine-grown buckwheat in the crisp from a family farm in northern Maine, the Bouchard family farm. We use as many Maine-grown ingredients as we can when they're available. So from the wild blueberries to the maple syrup to cranberries. When they can come from Maine, they come from Maine. And when they don't come from Maine, they come from other states as close as they can. Figs clearly are not going to come from Maine and come from overseas, but we try to do everything we can from Maine. And one of the reasons behind Maine Crisp being located in Maine is so that we can provide jobs to these low-income areas of Maine that used to have jobs in paper mills or other industries that have since gone to either other states in the country or gone overseas. So one of the core aspects behind the success of this business, because the reality is trucking products from Maine to California, you wouldn't choose to be in mid-Maine to try to get your products in Los Angeles. If you were just going from a cost of doing business perspective, you'd be in Wisconsin. The growth of rural jobs at a fair wage, offering health insurance, offering vacation time is super important to the ethos of our organization.
Okay. So what factors do you consider when deciding to expand your product line?
So when I joined last fall as the CEO, prior to that, I'd been on the board for about a year and a half. We were focused on just the crisps. But really, what our mission is to make buckwheat part of the diet of American consumers who are looking for better for you products. That's really the core. Now, it has been introduced in these crisps as the first product, but buckwheat is a gluten and grain-free flour that has been eaten for generations in Asia, in Eastern Europe, in Europe. The biggest importing countries are Japan, Spain, France. So this ancient super seed that is super full of health benefits, which I can explain, and is an amazing sustainable cover crop that is also a pollinator, has just never been introduced to the United States in products that people love. The first thing I hear from people is if they know buckwheat, they relate it back to their grandmother served it to them in these pancakes that they hated.
Yeah.
Or they don't know what buckwheat is, and they think it's a wheat because it says wheat in the name, and that's only because hundreds or thousands of years ago it looked like wheat, so they named it buckwheat, even though it's a seed. So we've decided to choose to grow in products beyond crisps. So although we introduced a new flavor, olive and za'atar, which tastes delicious, which is launching as we speak, we've decided to rebrand the company as Better with Buckwheat, of which Maine Crisp will be one of the key products, but it allows us to go into snacking crackers, cookies, and other snacks that a mother, kids want great tasting snacks. Adults want great tasting snacks. We're never going to give up on that. But if we can have a great tasting snack that also is fiber rich, that is a good source of protein, that is also anti-inflammatory, that is also a prebiotic, that is also sustainable, and the crop is a regenerative crop that is also a bee pollinator. If you can have deliciousness with health and environmental benefits, in our household, which is a celiac household, you have a home run.
It really is a home run. Wow. And I'd love to hear about some insights into the process of developing these new flavors. And how do you balance the science and art aspects in the test kitchen?
We have a huge cork wall, and we just put all these things up there, and then we throw darts. And then whatever the darts hit is what we choose. Karen Getz, who founded the company, is really an artist with food. She's a foodie to the core, and loves experimenting with different flavors. and different combinations of flavors to create unique things. So Karen will be working on things that are either food forward now. She's working on some different recipes with seaweed. So it starts with Karen. And then we also talk about what we see out in the market as trending flavors in other categories. And then Karen ultimately will decide what she thinks will taste good with buckwheat, because buckwheat is a unique flavor. Buckwheat on its own has a bitterness to it. So you have to use the right flavors and right combinations of fruits, nuts, flavors to combine with buckwheat, so that what you end up with is something that's delicious and not bitter. So that's, sort of how it's gone up until this point. The mad scientist goes into the kitchen and comes out with things that she thinks will taste great, and we all try them, and then we try them with people that we know that are friends of the company, and then we also try them with consumers that have been buying us for a while, and we ask, can we send you some samples and a questionnaire and let you try them out? I have worked for larger companies, and in those larger companies, I had a budget to be able to hire a research firm that would do this in a very calculated way, and I'm not in that place anymore. So now it's you find people that love your products, you send them the products, you send them a questionnaire, and you do it as affordably as you can, and you get feedback that way.
I will tell you, my daughter, who is a foodie herself, she's 5, she took your crisp, the blueberry one, and put Nutella in the middle, made a sandwich, and then made another sandwich with Biscoff in the middle. So if you need someone of the younger 5-year-old perspective, I got someone for you.
We're ready to post the video of her creating. You send me content, and if you're we love that. And Nutella is a good combination.
Yeah. So that being said, on the flavor releases, is there something coming up that Maine Crisp wants to share with the audience?
So the olive and za'atar crisps are launching as we speak. Will be in Whole Foods in the North Atlantic beginning in July. And then the new Better with Buckwheat snacking crackers in 3 flavors, everything, rosemary and herbs, and sea salt, will launch 7/15, so July 15th. And those will launch first in online and in our online wholesale stores, and then we'll gradually begin to get into our distribution over the next few months after that. And we'd love to offer to your listeners a special to be able to order on our site to get 20% off their order, and they get free shipping over $20. And if they use Podcast Escrow as the code, they will get that 20% discount. So again, Podcast Escrow, and maybe you guys can put it in some notes somewhere, and they'll get 20% off their order and free shipping of anything over $20. So
thank you so much for that offer. Everybody, take a moment. Please do find yourself, find that promo code. And you can also find Maine Crisp at many specialty shops, just like what Louis said, and also Whole Foods stores. So, Louis, looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Maine Crisp? Do you have any specific goals or aspirations for the company's growth and impact?
Our future is about growing Maine Crisp, but also extending into these other categories like snacking crackers, which offer a larger market size. So the Better For You cracker category size is about $650 million. The Better For You cookie category size is about $350 million. The crisp category is about $90 million. So we can, yes, build a really solid business in the crisp category, but the size of the snacking cracker category and the cookie category, to name just a few, offer us the chance to build a much broader and more successful organization. So the crisps are our foundation. They're what people know, they're what people love, and off of that foundation, we hope that people are going to love our snacking crackers, then our cookies, then maybe puffs, maybe cereals. We'll see where we go from there, and a lot of that will be determined by hopefully our core retailers will say, guys, we'd love to have a buckwheat brownie mix, or we'd love to have buckwheat cereal. Can you do it? And that's what we hope we'll be able to do, since we self-manufacture and since we have the ability to launch things very quickly. And that's our goal, and our hope is ultimately that buckwheat will become a household name, and people will understand the benefits of buckwheat, and they'll be looking for buckwheat in all the categories they're buying.
Louis, how important is customer feedback? Does it get into the decision-making process for future stuff?
Customer feedback, I've learned early on, being taught by Jim Cook at Sam Adams, is core to understanding and being successful. If you don't regularly I look at all the consumer reviews we get on our site, we get on Amazon. We do a lot of sampling in store, and we get a lot of comments from people, and we take all of that to heart. And if there's ever a point at which we're not seeking, reviewing, digesting consumer feedback, then I think you're destined for failure.
I do have to say that I'm really looking forward to discovering a few of these pairings that are suggested on the box, and then also really digging into those bags of snacking crackers that you've provided us. I really do see them as a great addition to our pantry. We are a gluten-free household, and kudos to the team. Really flavorful. There's savory options. There's sweet options. So thanks for coming on our show, Louis. Anything else you want to share?
We'd love people to visit us at mainecrisp.com, and we would really appreciate you following us on Facebook or Instagram. It's at Maine Crisp, and keeping up with our journey and trying our products. We have a store finder on our site, and we like to say they're gluten-free, but they're so yummy you'd never know.